Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. It is that time again. It is time to plant my monthly blooming garden. So every month this past year, starting in February actually, I planted some plants, either one plant or a collection of plants that would be blooming at that time of the year so that next year I can come back and I know that every month I have something beautiful blooming in my garden. Now, April, May, June were a piece of cake because there's so much stuff blooming in your garden around that time. But now that we're getting into November, December, it's a little bit harder. You actually kind of have to think about what you're going to plant, what's going to bloom at that time, and what's going to bring a little bit of life and color to the garden. So let me quickly take you around and show you some of my past monthly blooming gardens. Like I said, I started in February of this past year simply because I didn't think of this project idea until February. I will be doing January for the very last month of my blooming garden. But February started off back here in between my two orange trees, which by the way are looking like they're going to be just as prolific as last year, which is very exciting. So back here is where I did my February blooming garden. And the big thing that I did back here was this purple lilac vine. Purple lilac vine to me is one of the most beautiful vines, and I always notice it blooming at a time when nothing else is blooming. Nothing else is blooming. I know that this one comes in a white color as well, but I just love the purple. And, you know, I put it on my fence, and my fence needs to be replaced very, very badly. So we'll see how it handles once we do replace the fence, how it handles kind of getting taken off that and putting on whatever new fence we have. But we don't have any like concrete plans at this point yet to replace the fence. So I'm just going to let it grow all over the fence and be super happy. And it has doubled in size since I planted it last February. We did plant this podocarpus tree right next to it, which I think is really pretty. We did have some hellebores and we had some lupin under here, but we have had gopher issues really bad in this area in particular. So I think a lot of them succumbed to gopher issues, but they didn't touch the purple lilac vine, which is so nice. For March, I came over here to the long border and I planted some African daisies, which are just the absolute best plant for cool weather here. They did struggle a little bit during the hot summer, especially because we were having watering issues over on this side, but they look like they're bouncing back really beautifully. And then I also did plant this azalea. Let me show you what it looks like when it's blooming. So I'm excited because hopefully next March, this azalea will start blooming that beautiful color again. And then we'll have the white and purple osteospermum African daisies, and I think it'll be really, really pretty. So I think April wins for the most beautiful plant selection that I picked out. This purple plant underneath my deodar cedar is called Homestead Verbena. And to me, it is just one of the most beautiful verbenas. It has been blooming since I planted it in April. It is so beautiful. It's just finally starting to kind of calm down a little bit now as we're getting colder in November. But oh my goodness, it is just the most beautiful color and you can see it from all the way across the yard. I just love it. So for my May blooming garden, it was pretty easy to find something. There's so many things that are blooming in May around here. And what I decided to go for and select for my May blooming garden was a honeysuckle because I love honeysuckle. And I chose this pink lemonade honeysuckle, which is actually still blooming just a little bit. It's still blooming. And I decided to put it back here behind my office. For some reason, when they built this office, they had this little, I don't know, like this metal frame that extended out. I have a feeling that whoever built this wanted to extend it a little bit and put a roof on top. I decided to just grow the pink lemonade honeysuckle up and over, and I thought that would be really pretty. And it's covering my potting area, which is a potting area I fully recommend finding a spot in your garden that you can do a dirty potting area. And what I mean by that is a potting area that if you make it a mess, you could just sweep it off down onto the ground. It makes all the difference in the world. So this pink lemonade honeysuckle was for May, and I'm really happy with it. I think it was a beautiful option. Okay, for June, we're back in the orchard garden, and I picked 3 blooming shrubs for June. Now, the first one is this white pillar rose of Sharon that is going to get so tall, it's going to stay narrow. I forgot the size, but I'm going to put it on the screen right now. But I thought that would be perfect, especially next to my hose link, because then I could still kind of move my hose link around kind of as I needed. Then I put in another Mace Blvd that's looking gorgeous right now. So this is the 3rd Mace Blvd that I've planted in my garden. Love it. It's beautiful. So you can imagine it's been blooming since June, and it's November now, and it's still looking beautiful. Then finally, I have a plumbago back here. You can see there's still some blooms on it. Look at that. It is just the prettiest blue color. This one does kind of get big. It gets about 6 feet wide. So this is a perfect spot for it. So this was my June blooming garden, and I think it'll look gorgeous next year in June. I'll show you guys for sure. July, I kind of pushed myself because I decided I wanted to plant my July blooming garden underneath my neighbor's black walnut tree over here. So I had to really think of plants that were blooming in July and could still survive underneath a black walnut tree with the juglone chemical that's secreted by a black walnut. And so what I found was, one, this SS Rainbow, Sunseeker Rainbow coneflower that is just beautiful. It's kind of faded back now, so you can't really see it. But the other thing I planted was this pink crystal grass. Look at this grass, you guys. Isn't it the most beautiful thing? It's still going strong in November. This was definitely a win. So August is back here behind this massive pile of wood chips. Story of my life. Always have a pile of wood chips here that need to be spread. But back here is where I did my August blooming garden. And I know you see the marigolds, the yellow marigolds, and they're very, very pretty, but those are going to be annuals. They most likely won't come back for me. What I want you to look at is the beautiful lantana, and then also the skyscraper pink salvia. Look how pretty that is. So I interspersed the lantana with the salvia, and then I just put these marigolds in just to add a pop of color for now as these guys get a little bit more established. But I think it's going to be really pretty, and they're all in front of these Niagara Fall panicum grasses, which I just think is going to make a really, really beautiful show. I do want to add 2 more Niagara Falls right where Monty is right now. And then it's just going to be this really pretty border of pink and silvery blue. And I just think it's going to be gorgeous. For September, I knew I wanted to do a buddleia, a butterfly bush, because September is 100% butterfly bush season here. And they're so beautiful at the garden centers. They're all over the place. So I chose the Pugster Amethyst butterfly bush. I have 2 here, and then I have 3 more further down my long border, and those are going to be really pretty. Just like the Miss Molly, they're not going to just bloom in September, but they're going to come into their own in September and be really, really beautiful. Okay, and then finally for October, I planted this lion's tail. What is the scientific name? Leonardus, something like that. Anyway, this beautiful, beautiful orange plant. It's so gorgeous. See, there we go. So gorgeous. Really, really bright color, and you can definitely see it from across the garden, which is absolutely one of my favorite characteristics of a plant. So this one was beautiful, and I loved it, and I thought it was so appropriate for an October blooming garden. So now that it's November, it's a little bit harder to find plants that are blooming this time of the year. But there are some. You can find some. You just gotta look. You gotta spend a little bit of time looking. So that's what I did, and I found these. These are called Japanese anemones. This is called Fall in Love Sweetly from Proven Winners. Now, I have a friend who told me how wonderful Japanese anemones are this time of year. I've never actually planted them before, so I'm excited to get these in the ground. So these are my November blooming garden, and I'm going to be planting them in the long border. But before I get to that, I want to show you all one other option of a plant that's fabulous for a blooming garden this time of year. I would have chosen it, but I already have it in my garden, so I wanted to choose something else. But let me show you. So I've talked about these a lot lately. I think I showed you guys these in my November front garden tour. But these plants right here, these are called Salvia leucantha. also called Mexican sage and Santa Barbara salvia. They are so beautiful this time of year, really, really gorgeous. They have a purple color, which I have right here, and these are young. These are gonna get way bigger, probably, I don't know, like 5 feet wide, I would say. So I'm gonna have a big mass of these probably next year. But let me show you over here. My friend gave me this one. This is one plant over here, this white one. Look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that the most gorgeous, gorgeous plant? So had I not already had this in my garden, this probably would have been my November blooming garden plant because it's so beautiful. So I just had to point this out to show you all that, you know, if you don't want to plant Japanese anemone, because some people don't want to plant Japanese anemone because it can spread a little bit, this Salvia leucantha is a fabulous, fabulous option. So Japanese anemones spread by underground rhizomes. They're said to spread slowly. I think that it depends on where you live for how fast they spread. Obviously, if you live in a really great area where Japanese anemones grow wild, they're going to spread more quickly for you. If you live in an area like I do, like California, where we don't see Japanese anemones anywhere, I don't think they're going to spread as quickly. I'm just not too worried about it. Plus, I know other people that have planted them and, you know, it's been totally fine. We more have to worry about that they don't scorch from the hot afternoon sun. So I think I'm going to be planting my Japanese anemones over here in the long border. I have 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. They're kind of just small because I had to order them from online, but I think that they'll grow pretty quickly. They were blooming the other day. This one looks like it's about to bloom. So I think I'm going to plant them right here. So this is, let's see, this is a north-facing fence, and then you can see this sad-looking plant right here. This is my favorite honey apricot rose that I transplanted. It's actually doing really great. I know it doesn't look great, but it's doing really great. And I think taken to the transplant well. So I think that that rose is going to protect it from the west sun, the setting sun. Then we have a podocarpus right here that's going to grow up and protect it a little bit from the hot afternoon sun. So Japanese anemones, they do better in full sun when you live in a more northern climate. And then if you live in a more southern or hot climate like in California, you do need to protect them a little bit, which is what I'm going to do by planting them right here. So I do have gopher cages that Jason made me because I was thinking about planting them over there in between the 2 orange trees, but at the last minute I changed my mind and I decided to plant them right here. I just think it'll be such a pretty spot right there. So I am going to use starter fertilizer to get them going well. Just the 3 of them. I'll plant them probably about 2 feet apart. Let me show you the tag. Here they are right here. So 20 to 26 inches tall, about 2 feet tall. And then I think you want to do spacing as 2 feet. Yeah, minimum spacing is 2 feet. So I'll probably plant them about 2 feet apart right there. All right, so easy enough. I've got all 3 Japanese anemones planted and watered in. I do have to hook them up to drip, but that should be pretty easy since there's only 3 of them. So I want to know what you all are planting for your November blooming garden. I'm sure it's going to start getting tough once those of you who do get snow start getting snow everywhere, but just kind of try and think outside the box. Think of foliage, or even maybe think of plants that you can plant for indoors, like amaryllis or something like that. Just something that you can enjoy the color and the blooms every single month out of the year. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.